How old is that? If you plan on speaking, make it easy. If you sign in now, then you won't have to stop from talking before you start talking. All right. First,
Hello, sir.
item on business, the approval of previous minutes, January 10th.
I make motion that we approve minutes.
Any discussion? Do I have a second?
I wasn't here.
It's you. Okay, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, approved. It's no new business, no old business. Okay, new business.
New business. So this is a request at TMS number 137-0902-009, 456 Waring Street, zoned GR5 General Residential, owned by Richard Waring III. Variance request to reduce the required side setback from 10 feet to 6 feet for the primary structure and reduce the required setback from 5 feet to 1 foot for the driveway. Ordinance section 2.7.3C and section 7.7.3B. As was stated in the title, the need for the setback variance was determined prior to the application for the building permit. I will pull the site up that's located here on Waring Street, small one way. As I said, the zoning is GR5. It's pretty straightforward. This is the proposed plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit to give you a description of what's going on here. So we have the house on the lot. The sidewall will be 6 feet at its closest point to the side property line. And because this is a side load garage, which is over here on this side, the driveway for maneuverability will come out and will be within 1 foot of the property line on this side. The zoning requires a 10-foot setback on this side for the house and a 5-foot setback on this side for the driveway. That's the separation requirement from the property line for a driveway. Staff's evaluation is as follows. Staff feels that the applicant does not meet all 4 criteria and that a hardship is not present. Extraordinary conditions do not exist on the property. The hardship is based on the proposed home plan. The house is wide and has a side-load garage, which requires that the entire frontage be filled with the home and the extra space on the side for the driveway. An alternate home plan with a narrow front and detached garage could potentially fit on the property without the need for a variance. The one exception to this is the existing open space to the right of the requested variance. This area will remain open space in perpetuity due to it being required open space for the adjacent residential development. So that is the one extraordinary condition that may apply. Other property in the area do not have similar lot shapes. Most are irregular. This happens to be one of the few rectangular lots in the area. Utilization of the property is not eliminated due to the setbacks. As stated above, there's other house plans that could be chosen. And D, detriment will not be caused to other properties by the issuance of this variance on this property. So by my evaluation, they meet minimum 2 of the 4 required criteria to approve the variance. I know that the applicants are here and some neighbors. At this point, I can turn it over to the chairman to open the public hearing.
Anybody have any comments?
My name is Steve Jarvis. My wife Lindsay and I are the new owners of 458 Laramie, so the house to the left. So
To the left as you face it.
yeah, you face the property where the house to the left, you got that L lot that goes around. Yeah, there's a, right. So just want to make a few comments, reiterate that this is somewhat of a self-inflicted hardship. The house plan was chosen knowing that it would not fit on the lawn. And to have the driveway be 1 foot from our property line is on the side of the house where our bedroom is and we're expecting the child to be louder than it needs to be because it's closer to the property. We just feel like, you know, the exception shouldn't be made based on those things. You know, this is something that was chosen. This is a house that was chosen by them. It should have to follow the rules of what the setbacks are. I just think that the side entrance garage in particular, being that close to our house, makes it a noise nuisance at points. And I also believe that there's some drainage issues on the property. So where that driveway is going to be, there's a giant puddle right now from all the rain we've had. You put a driveway in there, that water is going to go out and over to our property at that point. We have our AC units over there. We have other things in the area that shouldn't be wet. And I'm concerned that as that driveway is built up, that water goes one way, it goes to us, it goes to our side. So that's a concern. The other concern is right where the driveway is going to be, there's a telephone box and an electrical box buried in the ground. Where does that stuff go if this driveway is now placed over the top? We also have a drainage ditch in front of the house. You throw a pipe in there, you get super high. As it is, you throw a pipe in there, you reduce the capacity of the drainage ditch. At that point, we're worried that we're going to have a spillover as well, because the driveway is essentially on our property, so it's away from our property.
Anyone else?
Question?
I had not thought about the drainage and all that stuff. Tim, can you go back a couple of ways where it shows, the houses?
The layouts?
No, not that one. Maybe No, it actually shows the house like from a Google map perspective. There, no, yeah, maybe that is it. Can you zoom in on that? Okay. And I know you don't know what I'm pointing at, but I'm looking, I was first wondering about the 1 foot separation that we're talking about, but then I looked at the house next door, which is your house. And then I looked at your driveway and your neighbor's house next to that. And they are very, very close together, as you know. I don't know whether anybody rode by the houses and noticed that also, but they're very close. I would guess that the two driveways are no more than 5 feet apart. From just looking at it, I didn't jump out of my car and measure, but it just looked like it. So it's probably 2.5 feet or so, 2 feet or so from the property line, which is not a whole lot of difference from what is being requested here. Has that been a problem from drainage that you're aware of?
Yeah, that center section gets very wet.
The intersection?
The center section between the two houses.
Okay.
Of it gets very wet.
Okay.
And that's just, I mean, I can come back up, but just the other piece of this is, those were 2 family houses. That was 1 plot of land that was split by the owner of the property at that point to build a house for the son and the daughter. So, you know, I can't speak to why it was built that way back then, but that was 1 piece of land that was essentially separated into 2 pieces.
I'm also having another thought. Am I the only one thinking about this? Can this house be flipped the other way so that the driveway is on the other side? Has that been given any consideration? Because there's a lot of land that can't be built on because of the, whatever it is on the other side. Right. And I just didn't know if that property, if that plan could just as easily be flipped and have the driveway on the other side, which would solve your problems, your objection.
The question I have is, you say an easement, but that looks like that as you face your house on the right-hand side. That's a driveway, right?
No, it's an
Is it
easement.
therefore a driveway? Well, what's,
No, you know, it's not, for a house, it's just enough property there in between the two, the lot and the next house for a driveway easement. But those people on Germantown that it goes all the way through, they've already built a home and put a garage in the backyard. So I don't know what their future plans would be for that easement. But I mean, that would be maybe a thought, about reversing the house plan. We have to further look at.
That would not be a big deal, I don't think.
Well, we would still need the same amount of space.
Yeah, but your driveway would be on the other side, so the objection. Mm-mm.
Yeah, if you flipped it, the 6 feet from the house would be on the side adjacent to the home, and the 1 foot would be adjacent, the 1 foot variance would be adjacent to the what I understand is to be a lot that won't be built on. So truthfully, that probably would be a better option for layout purposes. But that is something that the board could approve at this point. You could approve the variances with the condition that the house and site plan be flipped. That is an option, and that is within your authority to do so. Now, the question is would the owners be willing to go forward with that? They might have to just come up with an alternative plan otherwise.
okay.
Would it be, Tim, would it be possible at this late hour, having started this, to withdraw the request? Take it off the table?
They can, yes. You could also choose to defer, give them a month to work out the details, talk to whomever has done the plans. I don't know if they've contracted with an architect or if this is a plan from offline. Sometimes that makes it a little bit harder if it's one of those plans that you get online. That detail I'm not familiar with. That being said, getting a mirror image of that is usually pretty easy to do. It's not hard to just flip everything. Might have some impact on utilities, but generally speaking, it's unlikely.
All right, I have a question. As I face it, as you're looking at your property, that little alleyway that has an X there, that's the one that you're talking about? It's not going back?
Yes, that would be
property
the
has the
easement area.
I mean, they needed, yeah, because they would have to have an access to the street somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not gonna.
So
Right,
if I understand correctly, that strip of property on the right-hand side, it's access to property behind it, and conceivably somebody could build a driveway there, but it's not wide enough to do anything else. And yeah, and it's unlikely, and given the way the owners have developed, you're saying that given the way the owners have developed the property behind it, it's unlikely that that will ever happen, but it's not certain. It's a pretty small piece of property back there, though. Might be too small to build on. Why no?
They already had to do something with that property at a previous meeting in order to get their house, their square footage of their land. Correct. They've already had to go through some sort of process to have that part. Okay, that's what.
And actually, if you guys can talk into the microphone, it makes it easier. So if any other questions come up, I would really appreciate that. So.
How could you, I'm just asking this because I don't know, how could you address the,
let's just, all right, everybody turn your thing off except for the person who's speaking. Okay, good.
how could you address the drainage concern? Is there some way to do that with piping or something? I mean, the side lot line, is there some way to put piping in there, I wonder, that would solve that drainage concern?
I'm not familiar with the drainage there.
And there's a pipe in the front yard, I guess, drainage ditch in the front yard.
No, only underneath the driveway.
It's just a ditch right now.
But so that would be piped.
It would have to be of the driveway. Correct.
So that's going to drain just like it does now, right?
Less space though, with all the rain that we've got the past couple of weeks, the front of our house is really high with water right now. So if you take and you put a pipe, which limits the amount of water that can go across the front of the property, it's going to essentially force our thing to get even fuller.
Sounds like my yard when it rains a lot.
Par for the course over there.
Any other question?
I'd like to see it with the house flipped, actually. Is that a consideration to flip it?
That is, I feel like there must have been something in the beginning of taking out the house plan and why we chose that side. Because I mean, I'm familiar with flipping plans and building on the opposite, the mirror image. But I just don't remember back when it was chosen, if there was reason for that.
Would it make sense to defer this until next month and give you a chance to look at that?
If we chose to flip the house, is that something that you could approve today? Rather than deferring for a month?
It is up to the board. They can approve the variances with the condition. So they can, they have that authority to make that decision. So if they chose to do so, they could do the approval of the variance and condition it that the house plan and site be flipped to the other side so that the garage faces the other property. And then to be able to build, your site plan and house plan would need to meet that condition. So it'd have to be 6 feet from the left property line, and the driveway could be within 1 foot of that right property line. And as long as you meet those conditions and the other required setbacks, et cetera, there would be no issue with getting that permit approved.
Tim, if that house was flipped, the required setback on the left-hand side then would be 10 feet, right?
Well, yeah, so let's look at, I'll
Because it'd be
explain
a
it.
setback.
So the side setback, regardless, for a building, for a structure, is 10 feet. The driveway, based on section 7.7.3, is required to have a 5-foot separation from the property line. If we look at this plan, the house is actually 22 feet from this property line. So if we just flipped it, the driveway would be on this side, the house would be 22 feet, and this side of the house would now be within 6 feet of this side property line.
But it'll still need a variance, correct?
Yes. Yeah, unless this house plan gets smushed this way, it can't fit. That's really what it boils down to. And, that's why in staff's evaluation of it states, there is no extraordinary condition outside of the choice of the floor plan. Unfortunately, just to be plain and simple about it, there are other house plan alternatives that could be chosen. I mean, it may result in other trees and things being removed, but until we see that laid out, we can't say what would be needed. So this is what was presented. This is the request, and we can move on that. And then once the decision's been made to defer, approve, or approve with conditions, then we can, if they choose to do something different, that is up to them based on the board's decision tonight.
You're saying if they flip the house, they still would need a variance.
Yes, you'd be
Yeah, that's
approving
6
the
foot.
variance because it's not going to change the width of the house. It's just going to be a mirror image moving the garage doors and the driveway to the other side of the property.
All right, so I thought by flipping the house, okay, they wouldn't have that problem with the driveway as it is now.
It's not going to change. Flipping the house isn't going to change the width of the house. So it is.
It'd be 6 foot from the property line
Yeah.
versus the 1 foot.
So it'd be 6 feet on the left side, yes, and 1 foot on the right side instead of 1 foot on the left side and 6 feet on the right.
Can I ask your neighbor, would you find that objection? Would you stand if the plan was flipped and it was 6 feet from the property line and it was the side of the house, would you find that objectionable?
I still feel like there's drainage issues because you're still putting a house closer to where that giant lake is on the side of my house right now. That is still gonna push that stuff to the left into my AC units.
It just seems like there'd be some way to, from a construction standpoint and from a landscaping standpoint, to get that water out of there. Drainage and whatever, berms. You need a motion?
Any other discussion?
Mhm.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion since my mic's on. I'd make a motion that we approve the request, provided the condition that the house be flipped. All the setbacks as originally proposed, instead of being on the left side or on the right side. And I would encourage, I don't know that we can make this a condition, encourage somebody to look at the drainage and see if there is something that can be done about that. I don't think we can make that part of our condition. But I would encourage it. Did I miss anything?
Is there a second?
Well, I'll second it.
I can't point on here if it doesn't go in. So we're saying that the house is actually is the way it exists now is going to be 6 feet from
The left property line.
Right now, it's gonna.
right now,
Right now, it's gonna be 6 feet from the right-hand side,
right, 6 feet from the land.
which is too close.
Okay,
But
4 feet.
the argument would be that there's that essentially undeveloped property to the right, so no big deal.
It should be 10-foot setback, right?
Yeah.
And that's 6. So that was one of the approvals. So if we flip it, it's still going to be 6.
Yeah, if I do the math right, there's a total required setback of 15 feet, 5 on one side and 10 on the other. And this plan allows for 7 feet of setback in total. It's just too wide for the lot.
any other discussion? Approval of the motion. Right hand up. Disapproval. Disapprove. Request of disapproval. Any other business?
Under miscellaneous, there is the election of officers that was deferred from January to February. Currently, Mr. Chiklis is the chairman and Mr. Nye is the vice chairman. There could be a vote to maintain the status quo, or there could be a motion to nominate officers as you see fit.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
There's an availability for how many on this board?
There's a total number of 5 members to the board. So there, and as with most of the boards, there's a chairman and a vice chair. So those are the 2 standard officers. The vice chair acts as the chairman when the chairman is absent.
But that's what I was kind of asking. There's a maximum of 5 people.
Yes,
That was a question I was going to ask too. Can we have 7 members?
That's what I thought. We could have 7.
that would take an act of council to expand the board to include more members.
What's involved in getting in asking that question if it's permitted?
Well, you can talk to your council member and say that you feel it'd be a bit more representative to have more members. The one of the, I think, concerns that the council has had regarding expanding the number of board members is that it is a quasi judicial board, and keeping it small is beneficial to, keeping debate and dissent and, that type of thing more under wraps. But based on the rules, and we'd have to completely rewrite the rules of the Board of Zoning Appeals, you need minimum 3 to have a passing vote. In this particular instance, or like what happened at last month's meeting with 2 absences on the board, it made it a requirement that we have a unanimous vote for whatever the motion was. with 7 board members, as is the standard with all of our boards, 2 absences would not create that problem. So, and it's been discussed previously, not my time, that I've been here and been doing it truthfully, but I know it has been brought up, not officially as part of the discussion, but informally by staff as well as others. You know, what can we do to get it changed? You have to get council to change it.
Yeah, that's a question I had, not necessarily germane to what we're doing.
Understood.
now, But I would move to maintain the status quo.
Do you guys want out?
Yeah. Is that a motion to keep the office as?
That's my motion.
I'd second that.
Any discussion?
Just a question.
No,
Either of you
it's a
want.
question. That'll be fine.
Unless you want it.
I think we, irregardless, I think we should go for enlarging the 7. I think, you know, we'll avoid what happened last time.
I can bring it up. I'll bring it up with Jesse and say that the board asked about that, and we can see where it goes from there. It's best I can offer.
Well, you have a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Don seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right. And that is the last item on our agenda. We just need to adjourn.